Catch! Hello everyone and welcome to Scott Dunger's English. I'm Scott Dunger and today is the second edition of British Traditions. Well, I will introduce to you a tradition that we have had here in Britain for many years. Well, actually in some cases many centuries. And today's is a very popular one, is one that we still follow today. But before I tell you more about it, I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone out there who has liked, shared, watched and subscribed to the channel so far. Your support is greatly appreciated from wherever you watch the channel from around the world. I can't thank you all enough for your incredible support. I hope you all enjoy and learn something new from the second edition. Our tradition is cricket, and it's not just popular here in Britain, it's also popular in many other countries as well, which we'll have a look at a little bit later on. Now let's have a look here. We have when did it start? Our first question, when did it start? We have between 1550 to 1611, so there's a 61-year gap. Now the reason for this gap is that it's not entirely clear when cricket was first recorded. There are reports that cricket started all the way back in 1550 when a group of pupils from a grammar school in Guildford played the sport. But then, 61 years later, two young people were caught playing cricket and therefore punished for missing church. Let's now move to number 2. Let's move to question 2 now, which is what does it consist of? Now before we look at what's there, I will tell you that there are a lot of things that consist of a cricket match, a lot of equipment. So I don't have all of them on the list, but I consider these to be the most important. So let's get into it. We have bat, ball, pads, helmet, gloves, stumps, bails, 22 players, 11 on each team. Usually a mix of players such as bowlers, batsmen, wicketkeeper and all-rounders, players who bowl and bat, and umpires. So let's get straight into it. So we start with a bat. This is what I have here. So I have the actual thing right here. So this is known as a bat. So that's what is used. So a bat is used. A ball. A cricket ball. Now this is not soft. If you thought that this is soft like a tennis ball, it is not. It is rather hard. So a cricket ball is usually as hard as this. The second is pads. Now pads are used to protect the leg area, especially from the ankle all the way to the top of the knee. So they are worn by the wicketkeeper, which would be this person just here in this picture, and you can hopefully see the pads on the wicketkeeper and also on the batsman here, who's also wearing pads. So let's then move to the next one, which is a helmet. So a helmet, you can see it on both of the players here. The helmet is for protection. As you can see, I don't have one of those. The next one is gloves. So the gloves are for protection. We can see that the wicketkeeper here is wearing gloves, and also the person with the bat also has gloves as well for protection. Then we have the stumps. Now the stumps is also in the picture here, where we have 1, 2, 3 stumps. I also have 3 here, 1, 2, 3. And the objective of the game, which we'll have a look at later on, involves these stumps. So 3 stumps that we can see here. The next one is the bails, and that is at the top of the stumps. So that is right at the top of the stumps, and you can see the bails. Then you have the 22 players, so you have 11 on each team. Then you usually have a mix of players, so you have ones that are bowlers, so those are the ones that use the ball to try and get the other team out. That is the idea that the bowlers do, is they try to use the ball to get the other team out. Then we'd have the batsman, so the batsman would be this man here in this picture, and the idea for him is to score as many runs as possible. Again, we'll look at that a bit later on, but that is his job. The wicketkeeper is this one here. I spoke about him earlier on, so it's his job to collect the ball. So when the ball is bowled by the bowler, it is the wicketkeeper's job to collect the ball. To collect the ball every time. There are also, like this person here, he is a fielder. So his job is to collect the ball if it goes in his direction. If it doesn't go in his direction, it is the wicketkeeper's job to collect the ball. And then we are going to the all-rounders. So these are the players who bowl and bat. They do a little bit of both. And then we have the umpires. So the umpires are the last one, and they are the people, they're very important, that signal what is happening in the match. So a couple of the signals that the umpires do is they make the decision on what is happening in the match. So for example, you could see an umpire do this, which means that the batting team has scored 4 runs. Or you could see him do this, which means that the batting team has scored 6. So there are different signals depending on the action. It could be that the umpire puts his arm out like this, which means it's an illegal delivery from the bowler. Or you could also see the umpire just do this. Raise one finger, which indicates that the batsman is out. Let's now look at number 3. Now, I'm sure so far you've been given all this information, you think, whoa, that's a lot of information to understand a sport. Which it is. Cricket is a complicated sport to understand. It took me many years to understand everything about it. But at the beginning, it's just about understanding the basics of what is the objective of the game. And that's the question here. What is the objective of the game? It is to score more runs than the other team. That's the objective. So one team needs to score more than the other team. So to score more runs than the other team, runs are scored by hitting the ball with a bat. So, for example, just like this, sounds wonderful, doesn't it? I'm even going to do it a second time because it sounds so great. So the idea is for the batsman to score as many runs by hitting the ball off the bat as far away from the fielders, from the wicketkeeper as possible. If they hit it a very long way, then they can score a lot of runs. So the other team, they bowl the ball, so they need to use the ball to get the batsman out. So there are many different ways that you can get a batsman out, but we're just going to look at 2. So 2 of them. So one is what we said before about the stumps. The bowler needs to hit the stumps, and if the bowler hits the stumps, then the batsman is out. The batsman cannot bat any longer. And it can also be if the fielder or the wicketkeeper catch the ball when the ball comes off the bat. So that are 2 ways that a batsman can be dismissed, can be out. So the other team needs a bowl to get the batsman out so the batsman doesn't score many runs. If the batsman doesn't score many runs, then the other team do not have to score many runs to win. Let's look at our 4th question now, which is which countries play cricket? Well, many do, but in particular we have India, England, Australia, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, West Indies, even Ireland. So these are known as some of the major cricketing nations in the world. And the biggest rivalries you're looking at are between India and Pakistan. Those are probably 2 of the biggest rivals in the sport, but not as big as England versus Australia. That is the biggest rivalry in cricket. And these 2 teams compete for what is called the Ashes. And the Ashes is a competition that started all the way back in the 18th century and still continues today. And if you are interested, I first started watching cricket because of a match, a series actually, between England and Australia back in 2005, which is known as the best series of cricket. The last question we have is, do I recommend it? Well, what do you think? I think it's obvious. Of course I recommend it. I recommend. I've loved cricket since 2005 when I started to watch it for the very first time. Even though I didn't understand much, I loved the energy, I loved the passion, the excitement, the drama, and I think that is what cricket brings. And you can certainly see that in skill when the players play. Now, if you still do have doubts about how the game is played, I do recommend not just watching the video again, but also watching videos on YouTube or anywhere. Watch videos or just look at some pictures and think, right, what is the batsman doing? What is the bowler doing? What are these two teams doing? Like I said, the objective of the game is important at the beginning, because then you know exactly what both teams are trying to do. I hope everyone has enjoyed and learned something new from the second edition of British Traditions, and that you can now go onto YouTube, you can then go onto the internet or read some books about cricket in a bit more detail. This was just essentially it was just a summary for you today about the sport, because it's such a big sport, so it's very hard to explain all the rules and everything to you. Watch a couple of matches, watch a couple of short matches, some highlights of some matches, see what you think. If you have any doubts about cricket at all, any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate. Write in the comment section below and I will happily reply to you about any cricket doubts that you have. Now, before I go, because I have a match, I have my bat, I have my ball, I'm an all-rounder because I do both. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you on the third edition of British Traditions very, very soon. See you there. Bye.